Hello and welcome back once again to Solo Strategic Playthroughs. My name is Jeff and we are rolling on with the Gloomhaven 2nd Edition campaign. This is episode 14. When last we left off, we sent Yako off to the farm to have a nice retirement. And so now we have the new Gloomaniacs are going to be complete, as I will be creating the third new character. That is going to be the Cthulhu class. So, spoiler alert, but stick around, even if you don't know anything about the class. I've never played it before either, just saw it when I unlocked it, so a lot to learn about and should be fun. So we're going to start off with the city phase, but first thing, I just need to go back to last session when I unlocked the Cthulhu class. I'd already unlocked it by spending 12 inspiration the previous episode, so that this time when I got the unlock, instead, I was able to get a random item design as well as a random quest. So you can see those right here. Now have access to the Nightblade, which would have been more useful. 3 characters that do not produce elements, pretty much at all. Should be interesting, but I will not be buying that item for this group. And then a quest, which maybe I'll do in the future. Again, that might be a good side trek, the wanted quest to send Hale and her team on. But for now, I'm going to move on to the city event phase. So for my city event phase, I saw a shady looking character, had a chance to maybe befriend that person or tell the guards about it. I did want to work on my guard faction, continue to try and drive that up. The end result was I did gain +1 with the city guard, bumping them up a bit. I lost some reputation with the demon faction, so they're down to 1. But either way, I did pick up an item out of it. I got these boots, which again would have been fantastic with the bruiser around, who likes to generate wind. I have no wind generation now, but still, the boots still do give jump. And if I happen to be fighting air demons, or wind demons, I guess those could come in handy. But hey, free boots, I'm not going to pass that up. Taking a look at my campaign sheet, you can see I am now up to 7 reputation with the city guard. So that has unlocked another item. The armor bane bow looks really good for just giving a really nice pierce attack. It does require both hands, but I do have a bunch of people doing ranged attacks, so that might be something I'm looking to buy. And elsewhere, you can see I marked off the first checkbox on the imbuement, as I'll continue to play with that slightly increased difficulty of shuffling 5 more difficult cards into the monster deck, along with pulling out 3 -1s. I am going to have every character donate to the Great Oak this round, so I've already gone ahead and marked the 3 checks there. Plus, I did get 2 prosperity that I've marked here now or 2 prosperity ticks for retiring the bruiser last session. Moving along to the characters, we'll start with Rita, the Quattral Soothsinger, who did pick up 2 check marks last time, 1 from her battle goal, 1 from the bruiser's retirement. And I decided, since I no longer have a tank in this group, the Sawbones, now my biggest character with a whopping 9 health, we need a little bit more battlefield control. So I took her perk that lets her remove a -1 to put in a stun card, and I'll plan on getting the other one next time I'm eligible. For Rita's market phase, she started off with 39 gold, donated 10 to the Great Oak. That drops her down to 29. I really want to pick up the Warden's Robes for her, because now that she's got the Power Core, which lets her summon the Steel Construct, very good ally to have, but a little squishy with only 5 health. So this way I'll be able to help it stay alive a little bit more. It does cost 30, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to sell my stamina potion for 5 to give me the gold I need, and then I could just buy it back. She'll be level 3 going into next session, so hopefully I can get enough gold, buy that back. And I think it's worth paying the extra 5 gold investment to have the Warden's Robes now. Hello, nerds. Next up, we have Helo, the human Sawbones. He did manage to pick up 3 perks, after his last scenario. Two of those from masteries, one from checkmarks. He was able to do a double checkmark battle goal and then got the bonus from the scenario. So, as I said, I want to get some more stun involved. Him not being able to attack for a turn, disarming himself, not a big deal. He's got so many other abilities, being able to do healing and whatnot, that he can certainly occasionally take time off from attacking to be able to stun enemies. And it's optional. I don't have to do it when it comes up. Not to mention a +1. Also, really thinning his deck down. So I'm taking 4 zeros out, 2 for each one of these. And then I decided to go ahead and take the perk that lets me remove 2 -1s. Again, I want to increase the odds that I'm getting those stun effects and having a little bit more control over the battlefield. For his market phase, his options are limited. I decided to go ahead and use his perk on himself, so his donation to the Great Oak will be free, and then have him spend 10 gold to get a stamina potion. Could be saving up for more faction items, but I do think, especially now that he's kind of going to be frontline, just having more flexibility, being able to lose cards if he needs to be, probably a worthwhile investment at this point. I just will have to make sure that he's getting a lot of loot moving forward. And now it is time to round out our team, to introduce the newest member of the Gloomaniacs. Say hello to the Harrower Plague Herald. And, all he can talk about, this cacophonous sound of several insects somehow forming words all together, just keep talking about the coming of Zorn. He really only seems to be interested in one thing, and that is taking over the world. So this, of course, is the Brain. Now, the Brain does have 2 perks to start off with, one for being level 2, one for his lineage perk. So I probably should have gone ahead and gotten the stun abilities, but this one just looks fun. So I'm going to go ahead and take Zorn's Propagation. So we'll get into the Plague Herald's mechanics as we get into the game, but he's a big part of what he does has to do with these tokens, which are plague tokens. He's got 12 of them that he can distribute to enemies using various cards. And so with this ability, once per game, when I kill an enemy that has plague tokens on it, I can then have it perform an action against one of the other monsters. The more plague tokens it has, that's going to be a bonus to an attack. So this seems pretty fun, hard to resist, so I went ahead and grabbed that for my perk. For his personal goal, thematically, this seemed to make sense if the Blood God is Zorn, because I don't know, does the Plague Herald serve 2 masters? Who knows? But he is the Zealot of the Blood God in addition to being the Herald. And so he's going to want to take damage. Intense scenarios got to end at half health. He does not have a lot of health to begin with just 7, so that could be tricky. But thematically, it seemed fun, so not to mention he likes to poison himself. We'll see if we can make it work. So for his items, I decided to go ahead and give the Brain the Gust Striders. He doesn't have any cards that have jump, so there's a card that lets him do it. Maybe down the road we'll have some way of generating air. For the rest of his items, I had 69 gold. I spent 10 of that donating to the Great Oak, and then another 45 to pick up some items. I thought about actually going for a healing potion, even though I think the stamina potion is definitely better. It's just that as the Zealot, he's going to be getting himself in some hairy situations. However, I do have the Sawbones, so I have healing up the wazoo. I think hopefully the Sawbones will be able to take care of him, but just in case, I did decide to give him some armor, as well as an Amulet of Life. Can at least let him get a little bit of health back, or if he needs to undo a poison on himself. So those are his starting items. Additionally, he'll also pick up the Sword of the Sands. Where, might you ask, did this come from? Well, as I mentioned last episode, I just wanted to wait until I got the new crew together to crack open the puzzle book. I did. I completed the first puzzle, of which I'm not going to give you any details other than to say I got an item out of it. It was this item, so I'm going to give it to the Plague Herald, who mostly has range attacks, but he does have one melee attack, in particular, Vile Pestilence, which is especially since one of his battle goals involves giving out poison, so here's one more way to do it. I'm thinking of the top card of this, which is a 2 melee attack that targets every enemy at unlimited range. They don't have to be in line of sight, but any enemy that has a plague token on it. So seems like a good pairing to be able to put these two together. For his level 2 level up card, my choices were between Rot Maggots and Sickening Strength. Ultimately, I decided to go with Rot Maggots. A couple of reasons. Having the 4 ranged attack, again, I want to make sure I have good, reliable, repeatable attacks. Also, the poison should help towards his mastery goal. And then I really like the bottom ability, which should help towards his other mastery goal, which is to kill 3 enemies in one turn without drawing an attack card. He does have several abilities that allow him to just deal damage to enemies, this being one of them. Now it is time to hit the road. And where are we going? A lot of choices, a lot of things unlocked, but I do want to get back to the main quest line, so we are going to Scenario 28, the Temple of the Seer, to see what can be seen, another request from Hale, and see how things go forward. Along the way, we did have a road event, and this was an interesting one in that I thought I was so clever, but it worked out in the end. I thought, well, somebody needed some help. I have the Sawbones, who is both educated and resourceful, but that was not what I needed. I actually needed to have a certain item, or one of a few different items. As it turned out, I have one that I almost sold off to hang on to my stamina potion, but did decide to keep because, like I said, I'm not going to use the stamina potion this round anyway. And so I was actually able to give up my scouting lens in the name of this road event, and in doing so, all of my characters gained 15 XP and became educated. So they're all educated now. Perhaps at some point it'll be useful to have 3 characters that are educated. I don't know. But the 15 XP means 2 of them are now eligible for level 3. Can I change my mind and go back to Gloomhaven? No. We'll continue on with the scenario, but sure. We'll kind of push things over a little bit faster with the level ups. But that'll do it for our road trip, and now we can head to the Temple of the Seer. So, at Hale's suggestion, we have headed off to the Temple of the Seer, where we're hoping to find the Seer that was there a very long time ago, and may still be, who can tell us more about this strange, dangerous object we recovered. So you can see here the setup. As we've gone into the first room, we have discovered that there are several stone automatons. We hear a booming voice of perhaps the Seer saying that there has to be a test, and this will be our first test. The goal here, very straightforward. We have to kill all of the enemies. So I'll have to take out these stone constructs, then move into the other room, kill whatever we find there. Should be a piece of cake. Piece of cake, but that did not stop me from taking an awfully long time to figure out how I was going to go about, including even the positioning of my starting characters, very carefully mapped out. This was also an example where, just being as strategic as possible, I took very careful note, looking through the deck of the stone contracts to figure out when they can go, looking at their movement. They have a base movement of 1 or 2. The best they can do is +1. So and they hit pretty hard. So part of what I'm thinking about here with my setup and my initial card play is making sure I don't get hit. If they have a ranged attack, I can't really avoid that, but their ranged attack, while annoying as it immobilizes, does not hit very hard. It's a -2. So, with all that information in place, the only other thing is to go through battle goals and which cards I'm not bringing. For scenario level, all of my characters are level 2, so divided in half is 1, so this would normally be scenario level 1, but again, and this would be either first edition or second edition, that get bumps up. So playing solo, so I will be at scenario difficulty level 2. So first character we'll take a look at is the Brain, the Harrower Plague Bringer, or Plague Herald, and his battle goal that I ended up choosing, appropriately enough, is Zealot. So he just needs to end with 3 cards or fewer combined in hand or discard pile. So that means there are some cards he could have in play to do that, but really it's very easy to lose cards towards the end of the game. If it comes to that, I'll show you some tricks. As to which cards he's not bringing, there's a lot to keep track of here, a lot of things. So in addition to his battle goal, he's also got his personal goal, which is to end at half health or less. So in his case, he only got 7 health, so he's got to end with 3 health or less. And then his 2 masteries. I'm only going to focus on one of them, which is going to be the either give or remove poison every round. So I brought all his cards that are capable of doing that. The other mastery, if things work out, I may have a shot at it. It's not going to be a primary focus. For this game, I left out at least one card that can do damage without having to draw an attack modifier, but I still do have a bunch of means of doing that. So if the opportunity strikes, great, but not a main priority this game. But that did inform my decision of which cards to leave out. Now for Helo, the human sawbones, for his battle goal, he is the Insomniac. In his case, he is going to be the frontline guy taking all the hits with his whopping 9 health. So also this room only has 1 door, so there's a pretty good chance I'm going to have to take a rest with enemies around. So I think this one should be pretty easy to pull off. For cards I'm not bringing, I wanted to make sure that he had the ability to heal himself. I don't have a lot of healers or healing cards running around here, so I wanted to make sure that he can do that, since I don't yet have the ability for him to give himself a med pack. His multi-attack poison card, which was really useful last time, less useful. I don't know how often I'll be bringing that with the Plague Herald. Perfectly capable of dealing out poison. The needle gun side of it might have been nice with enemies with shields, but again, have to make cuts somewhere. He's going to be, again, with the prescription, less useful shielding other people, as I hope for him to be taking most of the attacks. And then just, the other 2 cuts in favor of cards that I think will be more helpful in this situation. Rita the Quattro Soothsinger is the pedestrian this game, so I just have to be careful and watch my step. Don't think that'll be too hard to avoid moving through allies or enemies. We'll see. Plenty of obstacles, but again, I can just move around them. Cards I'm leaving out, I don't know how well I'm going to be able to position the enemies. I don't have push and pull really that much available from my allies, or from her for that matter, so not likely to be able to maximize that group stun like I knew I could last game. And generating the extra note every turn, useful but not essential. I didn't need it last game. I like the increasing attack, the idea of that, but a little too unpredictable in terms of when each of those bonuses is going to be applied. So probably wasn't going to use it for the bottom ability this game anyway. For round 1, I was very deliberate in, as I mentioned, where I positioned my starting characters, but also when they're going initiative-wise. I've got the Sawbones going as late as I can have him go, so that hopefully he can let the constructs go first and then run up and start to dole out some damage. Meanwhile, I've got the Soothsinger going very fast, so she can get some damage out and also move out of the way of this one, if necessary. Similar with the Plague Herald, I've got him going middling. I'm going to have him go on the faster of the 2 values that I put out, so that in case I need to move out of the way. I took a look at which cards allow the stone constructs to move +1, and they are higher than 47, so I know that he's fast enough to avoid getting hit by a melee attack. Again, ranged, less control over that. Taking a look at Gloomhaven, we can see that the enemies are going to be going on 83, so that's actually after Helo, which is not ideal, because if he's going to run up, he would be taking a hit. So I'm gonna have to consider whether or not it's worthwhile, but I will go ahead and at least figure out, do what I was planning on doing with the first two characters. Rita's up first, and mostly just to get the treble note out so that she can play a song, she'll go ahead and do a one attack at ranged 4. The other way I could have gone with this was I could have done a curse at range 3, but I did not want to put myself in a position where I could be attacked in the first round if these things ran up. So obviously that would have been better, but we'll go ahead and do the attack, see what happens. Well, I certainly would use my scouting lens here if I had it, but I don't. So gave that away, all in the name of science. So just a straight one attack against one shield and a 0, so no damage. She'll then use the treble note she just generated to go ahead and put Bewildering Instrumental into play. And then I will go ahead and use the power core to summon the Steel Construct, since I don't have to worry about the enemies getting within range of it this turn. So we've got him out and ready to go. That's going to do it for her main turn, and then at the end of the turn she will activate her song, doing 1 damage and muddling the big guy, the one with the most health. So the elite takes 1 damage. Next up is the brain, and this crew definitely going to need to be a little bit more creative in how they deal damage, though they do have some nice attacks. Just don't have the massive firepower I previously had. Could be interesting figuring it all out. But so what I'm going to do here, take advantage of having a nice 4 attack up, and I think I can work things out and still not get attacked. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use his 2 movement. I'm going here mainly just because I want to steer this guy, the elite, in that direction, get a couple enemies next to each other. So do the move 2, then I'll go ahead and give the gift of poison to Helo the Sawbones, who is right about now wondering just what the heck he has gotten himself into. But having given that gift, he will now be able to attack with advantage this turn. That is, the Plague Herald will. And now the Plague Herald is very eager to enter the fray and unleash his rot maggots at the non-elite up top. This will be a 4 attack with advantage. So either a +1 or a 0, so +1, so that's 5 damage against 1 shield is 4 damage, and now the Stone Construct is poisoned. All right, so I'm actually not going to be able to avoid attacks because I forgot that these guys are unaffected by Immobilize. So that was bad scouting on my part, but I'll still only have to take 1 attack. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have, of course I'll be poisoned when I do it, but I'm going to move up here. Then that puts me within range 2, so then I can go ahead and use my Iron Spear to do a melee attack. It'll be a 4 attack with +1 from the poison, so a base 5 against the 1 shield. And that attack is going to be a -1, so that's a 4 for 3 damage. That'll do it for Helo's turn. He will gain an XP for that, and now we'll move on to the Stone Constructs, who are doing a ground pound. We'll start with the elite, who's just going to move up 2. Can't quite get in range yet. And then we will move the non-elite, who can get in range, and he is going to be doing an attack at 4. And actually, technically, this is number 2, so he would have gone first, just moving 1 space towards the Steel Construct. Stone Construct meets Steel Construct. For this attack against Helo, I will go ahead and use his armor to give himself 1 shield and make the attack at disadvantage. So here comes a 4 attack, either a 0 or a -1, so a 3 against the shield, 2 damage to Helo. Of course, I forgot that Helo has received the gift of poison, so it's actually 3 damage. He's down to 6. Last but not least, the song will tick down 1, and Rita will gain her first XP. Round 2, and though I did not bring the Sawbones card, Prevention is key into this scenario. Prevention is key. Preventing these massive constructs from attacking. So I've got myself lined up to stun a couple of enemies, and also get some licks in with the Steel Construct, who will also potentially absorb the 1 attack that does happen. But let us see when the enemies are going. So we're 21, 22, and 27, all in that sweet spot of being able to go before any attacks from the stone construct. It does have one quick card, which lets it throw up a retaliate. And let's see what it's going to do. Nope, it's going to be 28. A taxing advance, going to move and attack, potentially damage itself. Rita will kick things off, but of course, before she goes, it will be the Steel Construct who will move up and take his shot. This will be a 3 attack, +1, 4, so with the shields, 3 damage. And you know, I was going to have the Steel Construct do another attack, but I think even better would be to see if I can't take out that one up top, which is at 4 health and poisoned, so she is going to grant a 4 attack to Helo. That'll generate a treble note for her, and the attack, which is a 4 +1 from the poison, is a 5 +1 is 6 against the shield, 5 damage, taking that guy out. All right, and for her other card, I mainly just played this to generate the base note, so I've got a couple notes next turn, but I will go ahead and grant the Steel Construct move 4, so it'll go 1, 2, 3. We'll move it back here next to the door. It can always move up and attack if need be, although I guess there's a possibility it could be immobilized, but no, I'm definitely going to be going before the enemies. So that will do it for her turn. At the end of her turn, again, the song will tick off, and the elite will take another damage and become muddled. Now Helo's up. He will happily move up and claim that loot, and then go ahead and do an attack against the injured stone construct. Prep for surgery will be a 2 attack, and because against 2 shields, so not likely to do too much damage. But more importantly, because the stone construct is already damaged, that'll be an extra XP for Helo, and it will stun him. So +1, hey, managed to get a point of damage in. And of course, let's not forget that the movement from the syringe did wound the stone construct. Keeping things going, time to spread more gifts of poison with Delirium's Dance. We'll go ahead and poison Rita. So see if she enjoys that. She generally doesn't get hit that often anyway. But then I can go ahead and do a 2 attack on the non-elite and stunning it. 2 attack against 1 shield is going to be a -1, so no damage. And I do have 4 movement. I haven't figured out what I'm going to do next turn, so that may change. For now, I'm just going to advance a little bit. I'll move up 2, kind of keep me in a central range, being able to target things, although both my allies are already poisoned. But I've got some things I can still do. So we'll move them up there. I reserve the right to change it based on what I decide to do next turn. Now the enemies are up. They're both stunned, so the elite will take 1 damage from the wound. End of the round, we'll tick Rita's song down 1 more, and that will do it for round 2. Round 3, and I'm just looking to keep the pressure on and avoid taking as much damage as possible. I'm once again going to be able to, this time, disarm an enemy, and I can do that now against these guys, not against the bears in the next room. Just have to keep track of everything that everyone's immune to. But for this round, should definitely be able to help. Also should be able to do quite a bit of damage, get some more poison out. I'm finding a lot, especially when I'm balancing between these characters, really looking at initiatives, kind of figuring out who I want to go before who, to poison. Again, making really good use of that knowledge of what the initiative numbers of the enemies are, knowing that I have this whole stretch in the teens and 20s where I don't have to worry about the enemies going. A lot easier when you've only got 1 enemy on the board to worry about, or 1 type of enemy. But that said, let's see when they're going. All right, for the stone constructs, it is going to be a runic draw. So going to be a ranged attack, although I can potentially do something about that. Rita's going to kick things off, which means the steel construct will be going first. Try not to knock this guy over. It's going to go in and do a 3 attack against the 1 shield. And that is going to be So my card that lets me keep my songs around a little longer. Excellent. And a 3, so 2 damage, knocking it down to 6. And I have to say, I feel like I'm not giving you the best picture of how the Soothsinger should play. Uh, Usually she would have to do her own attacks to be able to move through her attack modifier deck, but that's kind of the direction I was going and thinking I can get attacks more often by having this summons, fortunate enough to get that item. So, it's strategically, classes are good at things and you can have class guides and say what things are good at, but certain circumstances, combinations of items, things you might not expect, you really just need to look to maximize everything you've got. Now for Dot's turn, she's got to move 4, and I'm going to use that movement to get her into the thick of things, moving her up here. That does put her right next to both enemies, but I've got a lot of ability to control in terms of who they're going after, when they're attacking, who I'm disarming, and for abilities like the disarm that are the closest enemy, I want to be able to choose. So I think I'll be safe enough putting her there. Again, although she's poisoned, she's got plenty of health, and she's also got her construct there, who is lower in the initiative than her and can take a hit. So that's just the move, and then I'll go ahead and play the Wearying Chant using the 2 notes I've got up there. So we will pop that into play, and then at the end of her turn, I will be able to fire off a couple of abilities. So first, we're going to go ahead and muddle and wound the enemy with the highest health, which is going to be the elite. Then I have to choose which of the 2 enemies I'm going to disarm, and I'm going to disarm the big guy. Even though he's muddled, in the end, they're both going to be muddled. Alright, so now the Plague Herald is up, and he is going to start using some of his other abilities we haven't explored yet, which is the Plague. He is going to be spreading the Plague. He does have, well, he's got 2 allies to choose from, so thanks to where Rita's positioned, I can target either enemy. I think in this case, I am going to go ahead and poison the elite, who is a little bit harder to hit with his shields, and then he will also get his first plague token. And with the plague tokens, like I said, you've got 12 that you can dole out, and you can put up to 3 on an enemy, and that's going to affect various other cards. Now for his other ability, he's going to go ahead and use Biting Gnats, and he is going to be able to attack both of them. So that's going to give a second plague marker there, a plague marker here, and they are both going to be muddled. So as you can see, we are just piling the things on that elite there. May not be able to immobilize him, but we'll do just about everything else. Also, a note on the plague tokens, they do not count as conditions. They don't count as anything. They can't be removed, other than, if the Plague Herald has abilities. But having done that, I should also go ahead and do the attack. We'll start with the attack on the elite, which is a 1 bumped up to 2 thanks to the poison. And that is going to be +2 of 4, so actually going to get 2 damage through its armor. And now just a 1 attack against the non-elite, and, well, waste of a bless, ×2, but it does at least allow me to get 1 point of damage in. And the one other thing I should note for the Brain's turn is that Spread the Plague actually transfers the plague in this case, so I get to remove the poison from the Sawbones, which is handy because now I'll be able to poison him again with a different ability. Next up is Heal of the Sawbones, and I'm going to use a Bloody Saw, not for anything bloody. I'm just going to move 2 so I can get between these 2 guys and then attack both of them. So they're both damaged, so it doesn't really matter which one I hit first, but we'll go ahead and hit the big guy first. So it's normally a 3 attack, but it will be a 4 attack from the poison. ×2, holy cow. I guess I shouldn't have bothered disarming that one, as he is, I think he's dead. Well, it's 8 damage against 2 shields, so he's actually down to 1, not dead yet, but he is wounded, so he will die at the beginning of his turn. Now the next attack, this one just going to be a 3, is +2, so 5, so 4 damage, knocking that guy down to 1, almost taking him out. Halo gains an XP for that, and now we are on to the stone constructs, starting with the elite, who is going to die to his wound. Now, I was looking at Zorn's Propagation, the ability I took that allows me, when an enemy dies, if I've got plague counters on it, which I do, I could then have it perform its ability. So, in theory, with this guy dying, I could have him activate his ability, which is a ranged attack, to have him potentially take out the other one. However, it says before he dies, so I think he is still disarmed for this round, which means I actually can't attack, which is unfortunate. But I will happily take him off the board, dropping a loot token in his place, and now we will have to deal with an attack from the non-elite, though because the non-elite is muddled, no reason for him to move away. He'll just attack with disadvantage from where he is, and his target is going to be the steel construct. So incoming, just a 2 attack, either 0 or -1, so 1 damage. This runic draw will also pull the steel construct towards him, though they're already adjacent, and then immobilize him, which is okay, because I don't think the steel construct was going anywhere next turn anyway. That's going to do it for round 3, and because of the attack modifier card I drew for Rita, neither of her songs will advance, which means she's also not gaining any XP just yet. Round 4, and I can't see any reason not to head into the next room and keep things going. The steel construct is going to be able to take out the stone construct. Even if I draw a miss, when it goes, I have a second attack lined up for a card. If not, I could always use that to position one of my other allies, give them a little extra movement. I've got Sawbones just kind of getting ready to get into position, heal himself. I will have him go on 19 so that in case he needs to get in front of Rita to kind of be the front line, but he'll be back up to full. And then for the brain, he needs to keep giving out poison, so he is going to plan on doing that. Going to be able to move up in a position, target from a distance, again, potentially getting some extra movement from Rita if need be. Doesn't really matter when the stone constructs are going, since 10 is the fastest they can go, and that is not fast enough, but they're not going to 72. So we'll kick things off with Rita, but again, first, the steel construct, who will attack the stone construct. And that will be a 3 attack, times 2. Unfortunate that I drew that there, but certainly did take out the enemy. And now I will have the Soothsinger go ahead and open the door and see what's on the other side. So yeah, that's a lot of enemies, as we are being tested again by a bunch of enemies that were summoned into here against their will. They are not thrilled about it. As you can see, we've got a couple of cave bears, 4 living spirits, 3 spitting drakes, all going to be moving towards us. Actually, they're not all going to be moving this turn. We'll take a look at what they're doing in a moment. But again, the goal is simple. I just have to kill everything. I might want to draw them out into this room. A little tougher to do with the ranged attacks, though with positioning, maybe I could get them to come around the corners. Gonna have to think about how I want to handle this. I do still have 2 more movement, but let's take a look at what the enemies are doing. You can see here I am going to be able to have Helo go next. Before the spitting drakes go, they're going to be doing a hasty assault, and I believe only one of them is going to be able to get in range. So it is going to be able to do an attack, one of the elites. I'll have to double check with the other elite. Again, there are some traps in the room too, but these guys are flying. The traps are only going to affect the bears or me. So spitting drakes doing that on 32, then the brain gets to go, so he should be able to at least target one of those guys. The living spirits are not moving, so as long as I don't stay in the room, which I have no intention of doing, they're not going to be able to do anything. And then finally, the cave bears are on the rampage, so they're just going to be moving too, which just means to avoid the non-elite, I have to not be in the doorway. So I think I can handle that. Now I will finish off Rita's turn. Again, just to kind of show you my thought process, I've marked with damage counters for the only relevant enemy here, which is going to be the Drake, which is going to end up over here. Those other damage markers, including the spot where Mr. Silver Surfer is currently, are the areas it will be able to hit. Although these corner ones are in range 4, they are not line of sight, so from where it will be. So that being the case, I actually can avoid getting hit altogether, and I think that is probably my best strategy. In terms of how and where I move people, I think what I'm actually going to do with Rita is, again, she's still got 2 more of movement, so I'm going to use that 2 movement to go here, and then I'm actually going to use her boots to give her 1 more movement. So that is the weathered boots, which give her +1. That way, I'm going to move her back here onto the loot and safely out of range. Now, for her other card, she is going to do call to action to grant her ally. In this case, it is going to be the Steel Construct, a move 3, attack 2. Important to note with the Construct, was immobilized last turn, but Construct has already finished its turn. The Immobilize has gone away, so it goes ahead. I'm just going to have it move 1 here, so it's still staying, getting ready to get into the fray, but won't take an attack this turn. That will also generate a base note, and that'll be the end of the main part of her turn. Now, for the end of the Soothsinger's turn, she's going to get to trigger both her songs. The first is the enemy with the highest health, which will be the Cave Bears. They're going to take 1 damage and be muddled. Not that the muddled really matters, but the damage does not hurt. Last video, somebody thanked me, for changing the positioning and acknowledged what a pain it must be. It is very much a pain, but only with the big ones. The little guys stay on at this angle. The bears and the steel constructs fall down all the time. I cannot tell you how many times I have cursed off camera with one falling down and like dominoes knocking all the others down. But the videos are much better this way, so I do it for you. That said, takes care of that. Then the other one is she will disarm the nearest enemy within range. I'm not sure. Honestly, I don't think it's a targeted effect. So I think in this case, it would, again, it doesn't really matter. Nobody's going to be able to attack. I think it would affect the Cave Bear. This guy down here, he is the closest one to her. Obviously, it makes a difference if it is one within line of sight. Although I guess that would end up, then it would probably end up being this guy. But I'm just going to assume, since I'm keeping everybody out of range anyway, I'm going to assume that it is just a non-targeted effect, hitting the Cave Bear, and therefore having no effect, since the Cave Bears cannot be disarmed. I don't think I get to be that choosy if there's not a tie. So that is going to do it for her turn. Now Helo's up, and he's not going anywhere. Much as it would be nice to grab that loot, I think it would be better to give a med pack to the Soothsinger. So he will go ahead and do that. He's not going to move forward. That would put him in the line of the fire of the Drake, so he'll just stay where he is. He will also heal himself for 4, back up to 9. For the med pack, again, he's got 6 different med packs, and which one he hands out is done at random. So it is going to be the med pack that grants a 4 heal on the top or a 6 heal on the bottom and a mobilized self. Sawbones will gain an XP for that. As I said, healed himself back up to full, and then and really the main reason I wanted to give Rita that extra card is she starts with an odd number of cards, so now she doesn't have to use her stamina potion before she needs to take a rest. So that's going to do it for his turn, and just while I'm thinking about it, I went ahead and gave Rita the XP. Her songs are going to both tick down 1. So that does it for the 2 of them, and now some of the enemies start to go. Spitting Drakes are moving 4 and attacking at range 4, so this guy is first. Again, I'm using blue for the elites. Don't have any more yellow bases, but maybe now that my daughter's home for break, I can get her to help me fix the printer so I can do multicolor printing again. 1, 2, 3, 4, as he will move there. Then the other guy will move up to the spot we've already marked. So then we just need to move this guy up. 1, 2, 3, 4. He'll come in line right down here. And that is it for the Spitting Drakes. Next up is the Brain, who cares far less about loot than he does about spreading the joy of poison. So he will go ahead and move up to, putting him in range 4 of the Spitting Drake. So he can go ahead and do his attack. Here comes the Comorbid Sting, base attack of 2. And -1, so just 1 damage to the Drake, but it is now poisoned and it has the plague. And now we'll just finish things off with the Bears, who are going to each move 2. And you know what? I'm going to do that off camera because I can't imagine being able to move these without them falling off their stance. And that is where the Bears will end up, and that is where we will end things for round 4. Round 5, and things could get a bit dicey here, as the enemies are going to be continuing forward. We'll have to see how they cluster up. Right about now, kind of wishing I had that card that could stun 4 enemies, because it seems like this would have been a good time to use it. So probably not good planning there. But planning for this round, I'm going to have the Mind Thief go very quickly, just to make sure that the Steel Construct is able to get off at least a couple of attacks. One on its own, one from her. And then I'll get up my song that allows me to do movement and decide kind of how I want to reposition one of my allies based on what the enemies are doing. For the Sawbones and the Plague Herald, I'm going to have them go later in the round. Figure somebody's going to take some damage, so since I've got a heal up potentially for the Sawbones, he could then heal somebody, or I could have him get his damage card into play. Again, we'll see how things go. And the Plague Herald, I would like more enemies in range, as I'm thinking of getting a lot of Plague out. That would be ideal. I do need Poison to keep my battle goal going, but I can use the Scepter of Zorn for that. I just need enemies within range 3. And for the enemies, we can take a look and see. All right, so the Cave Bears, they are on the move, so they're certainly going to get in here. At least they'll be in range with a move 4. And then Living Spirits, not moving very far, so I might be okay from them. And a Calculated Strike from the Spitting Drake, also moving not that far. All right, so we'll kind of calculate all this out and get things going. We'll kick things off with the Steel Construct, who is going to be able to move 2 into the doorway and will attack the non-elite bears. And that's going to be a 3 attack, +0 straight up, so 3 damage to the bears, bringing them down to 8. Now I'll use the bottom part of Singing Arrow to have the Steel Construct do a 2 attack, range 3, and I'll go ahead and target the elite Spitting Drake that I've already wounded. So it'll be a base 3 attack times 2, so 6 damage. That'll generate another base note, so I'll then go ahead and use one of the 2 base notes I've got to put Mobilizing Measure in play. I guess I could have put that in play first, but with my perk it doesn't matter. In this case, I'll get one back, so I could switch the base note to a treble note, but I actually want to keep it as a base note. And this is kind of where I really have to think ahead in terms of what I want to do, not just next turn with the Soothsinger, but the turn after. I do have 2 cards in hand, thanks to the card I got from the Sawbones, but honestly, I haven't taken any damage. I'm not going to take any damage. I really need, with this many enemies, to be proactive. And what I really want to do is get my card into play, the song that allows me to attack enemies and push with Pierce, just to get more firepower up. In order to do that, I need 2 base notes and a treble note, so I'm going to have to be able to generate those, which is all a long way of saying I am going to use my stamina potion this turn. So that is going to allow me to get Call to Arms back into play, which is going to give me the other base note. And I do have a card in hand that has a treble note. And then after that, I'll be able to take a short rest, set myself up. So with that kind of all in place, I can now finish out my turn with the 3 different song effects I've got. So unfortunately, this song is going to hit the cave bear, which is closest, and have no effect. This one is going to hit the big cave bear, knocking it down 1 more and muddling it, which is helpful. And the last one, the move 2, since I've got Helo going next anyway, and he's going to be moving, don't need to grant him movement. I am actually going to get this guy out of harm's way. He'll still take an attack from the non-elite bear, but I've got my summoner's robes to hopefully have him survive that attack. And the elite in that case is then going to target either Helo or the Plague Herald, depending on where I put them. All right, now the cave bears are up, and they are doing nothing special. And I forgot, of course, the elite is going to go first, so that one is actually the one that's going to go here, but I don't mind that because he's muddled. So the elite is going to move 4 and then do a 4 attack with disadvantage against the steel construct. All right, I guess I use the Warden's Robes after it takes damage, so let's see what that's going to be. It's either going to be a 0 or a +2, so it will be the 0. I will use the robes to reduce that, to put up 2 shields, so that'll be 2 damage, and unfortunately a wound. So if I want that guy to stick around, I am going to have to heal him. Well, heal him eventually. He's down to 2 health, so can survive 1 round, and then he'll probably just get hit again anyway. But let me go ahead and move an attack with the non-elite. This is going to be a 3 attack, and since he wants to ultimately be damaged, I'm going to not use my armor just yet, which gives disadvantage and shield. And I'll just take the attack, whatever it is. It is a 3-0, so 3 damage. Now, Helo, the Sawbones, is up, and I have a couple options with him. I could play Vital Strikes, get that into play, and then move up and remove a condition, either the poison from the Soothsinger or the wound from the steel construct. However, I think my better option here is if I can keep the steel construct alive, that is some great damage. So I am instead going to just use my move 4 to just move 2 into this position, and then I'm going to do a 3 heal and remove a condition, which will be removed anyway, but that is going to get the construct back up to 5 and get rid of the wound. So it doesn't have the shields, and I don't know when I'm going to have an opportunity to long rest with the Soothsinger, but with 5 health, it might be able to withstand another hit from the bears, and honestly, it's a reasonable chance I might be able to kill them before they have a chance to go again. Now, while I could certainly long rest here, and I do have that battle goal where I need to be attacked by a long rest, this is not the situation to do it, because all of the enemies are up and clustered, all my allies are here. I'd have to move them out of the way for them not to be the targets, and I don't know that I'm going to be moving them much next turn, if at all. So what I'm going to do instead is take a short rest, and as I'm out of cards, and I ended up losing Vaccine, which, you know, would certainly be useful being able to attack 2 enemies here, but not worth paying a life for. I have other cards I'd rather hold on to. Now the Living Spirits are up, and I don't know why it took me until midway through my 14th episode to realize that, yeah, I can just show you. I can just create a duplicate of the X-Haven window, shrink it down, just show you the card. So there you go. Living Spirits are doing Leech Warmth. We'll start with the elites, who are going to be moving 2 and attacking 5 at range 2. So that's going to be this guy first, who's going to move towards the doorway and will not find anybody in range. Then this one, I guess, is going to move over here, heading also towards the doorway. They can fly, so they could go up at the pillars, but yeah, I'm not even sure which necessarily brings them closer. But with the up, down, then left, right, I think that might be right. Again, I'm not positive. I guess you don't need to be perfect on the monsters as long as you're consistent in how you apply it. But that's going to do it for them. Then for the other 2, this one will be able to move on the other side of this pillar, going over here. And then last but not least, this guy will move onto the trap, getting him... Actually, no, I guess choice between up, down, left, right. No, that would take him farther from the door. So yeah, he is going to just move onto the trap. And wow, look at that nice cluster of enemies. Again, wish I could stun them all, but there are at least other things I'm going to be able to do to them. All right, so now we get to see some of the full-on insanity that is the Plague Herald. This turn and next turn combined are going to be quite something, as I'm going to start with Path of the Pox, which is going to allow me to target an enemy within 4. I am going to target the Elite Drake, who's down to, or Spitting Drake, who's down to 3 health. I'm hoping to take out with my next attack, but first of all, he will be poxed. Then the pox jumps to another enemy within 3, so we'll go ahead and target this guy here, then another enemy within 2, just keep going down the line, target here, and then finally one more enemy within 1. We'll slide one in for this guy back here. So now we've got lots of enemies poxed, 2 XP on top of that. Now I'm going to go ahead and use Accelerated End to attack the Elite Spitting Drake. 3 attack plus 1 from the poison, so a 4 attack with a plus 1, so that is 5 damage, which is going to kill it. Now, I'm pretty sure my reading of this is these are not conditions that are being applied, so I do believe everything gets applied, so I do get to put a 3rd doom counter on it before it dies, 3rd plague counter. Not a major thing if I'm wrong, but and I'll also gain an XP, so 3 XP for the Plague Herald, who finally gained some. Having killed an enemy that has a plague counter on it, I will go ahead and use Zorn's Propagation, which is going to allow me to have that enemy attack. Use its ability, which, by the way, is a 6 attack with Muddle. And this is where, it matters whether or not I can apply the additional plague counter, because the other part of the ability is it's going to do an additional +1 to the attack for every plague counter. So is it +2, is it +3? I'm going to go with the +3. This is going to be a 9 attack against the Elite Cave Bear. And that is just a 0, but 9 damage, not too bad. Last but not least, I do want to continue working on that mastery goal of applying or removing poison every round. So I am going to go ahead and activate my Scepter of Zorn, which I can hit 3 targets within 3, so both bears and the closest Elite Living Spirit are all going to be poisoned, and I will shuffle 3 curses into the enemy attack deck. Finally, the surviving Spinning Drakes get to go. Much as I would like for them to, follow their leader and attack their allies, they're just going to move up to not going to be able to get within range 4 of any of my guys, so I'm not going to have to worry about any attacks from them. So I'll just go ahead and move them. Oh, and going back to the Brain's turn, I do need to do a short rest, as unlike some of the other masteries I've done, his is every turn. So if he long rests, unless he has some way of giving poison during long rest, which I currently do not, that would break the mastery. So with the short rest, unfortunately, I ended up losing Vile Pestilence. So I'm not going to be able to pull off that cool combo with the Sword of Sands, but there is another card in my deck that I absolutely cannot afford to lose. You're going to find out very soon what that is, as this is the end of a pretty amazing round 5. Did not imagine it would go this well. I did not realize how better things are even going to be. Only other thing at the end of the round is 2 of these will expire. We'll push this down, and Rita will gain 1 more XP. Actually, one very last thing for the round, which was earlier, the Living Spirits did generate Frost, so that's generated and then wanes, and now we can get into round 6. Okay, so it is just past midnight on Christmas Eve as I'm recording this. I just finished packing up the stockings and watching Die Hard, as I do every year, and I thought maybe I'd get in at least 1 more round of this very interesting scenario as it's going now. What better way to celebrate Christmas than with the gift of poison and plague? And that is what we did last round. And this round, we are going to deliver even more on that gift and just show how nice it can be as we're going to unleash a full-on pox. I've got everyone going pretty early here, 8, 14, 14. I just want to make sure that at least I can stun one of the bears before they go. And talked about what I'm doing with the Soothsinger last turn and just getting more notes going. Going to be able to get some attacks in, but what I'm really looking forward to is the Plague Herald's turn. Let's see when the enemies are going to go, and then what the Plague Herald is going to unleash in the name of Zorn. As I mentioned, we got everyone going pretty fast here, so for the enemies, not as fast as us. Living Spirits, doing a Sap Strength on 22. Spitting Drake, not moving, so that is good news. Should be able to stay out of their range, and the Cave Bears doing Claw Swipes. All right, Sawbones is up first, and I do want to stun one of the Cave Bears. I think I have a pretty good chance of taking out the Elite, and even if I don't, it's muddled, so I'm going to go ahead and do this attack against the non-Elite. That'll be a base 2 attack, +1 from the poison, -1, so 2 damage to Cave Bear, but more importantly, it is stunned, and I gain an XP. I want to make sure with my movement that I am out of range of the Spitting Drake, which currently is a range 4 attack. Again, it's not moving, but I don't want to get hit. I would as I'm standing right now, so what I'm going to do is use my Curative Mixture for a move 3, and I will go over here behind the Soothsinger. Actually, I'll go through the Soothsinger over here, and then I can remove the poison from the Soothsinger. That does it for Helo, and now Rita the Soothsinger is up, and of course before she goes, the Steel Construct will get in its licks against the Elite Cave Bear. This will be a 3 attack, +1 from the poison, so a 4, +2 is 6 damage, and what do you know? The Elite Cave Bear is dead, don't even have to do the second attack on it. Now, with Call to Arms, I could have an ally move in and attack the Cave Bear. I could even go up and attack the Drake. That said, I don't want to take damage that I don't need to. Not worth it just to get in a 2 attack. So what I'm going to do instead is just give the Plague Herald movement over here. With that movement, he's still in position to be able to do the things he's going to want to do on his turn, but now out of range of the Drake. And he'll be able to pick up some loot at the end of his turn. The last thing I'm going to... So that's going to be that. Then I'm going to be able to muddle 3 enemies within range 3. I actually can only muddle the Cave Bear, which is stunned anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I don't have line of sight. I could move, but I would rather generate the treble note, so I am going to be able to generate a treble and a clef note. Yeah, so we'll muddle the bear, just so I can use the ability, and then at the end of her turn, I will be able to move somebody too, so I'm actually just going to move this guy back over here. Again, the bear's stunned. Don't have to worry about them. I am safely out of range. The Steel Construct is technically in range, but out of line of sight. Now the Plague Herald is up, and for the brain, what better way to celebrate the holiday season than with the gift of blistering buboes? But before we do that, I am going to go ahead and use the bottom effect of the other card. Got to keep that goal going of doling out, or that mastery goal of doling out poison. So I am going to target this guy right here, poisoning the 3 enemies around him. Actually, 4 enemies around him. Even better. And now the blistering buboes. I get to choose up to 4 enemies that have a plague token. At this point, I only have 3. I get to do 4, 3, 2 damage. So we will go 4, 3, 2. And just like that, 3 enemies are dead, and I have achieved the Plague Herald's mastery goal of killing 3 enemies in 1 turn without drawing an attack modifier card. Incredible. One other thing on that, and I'll gain 2 XP on top of that for losing the card. I was a little off in my positioning as I placed the coins down. I realized that the way it was positioned, I actually could not get 3 enemies poisoned. I could only, 3 of the enemies that'll survive anyway. So I'm not going to poison this Drake who's just off screen here, but I will poison these 2. Now the enemies are up and not looking so dangerous anymore. The living spirit doing sap strength would move 1, attack range 2. However, moving down or up would not get it any closer to its target, so it's just going to hang out where it is. Then the spitting drake's doing venom glands, but they are out of range of an attack. Like I said, you've got a door here, so this guy does not have line of sight on the steel construct. And finally, we've got the cave bear, who is stunned, so that is going to do it for round 6. And I mean, my biggest challenge now might be for the Plague Herald continuing to dole out poison when all of the enemies, almost all of the enemies, are already poisoned. I guess I'm going to have to be poisoning my allies. We'll figure it out. That's going to do for the round. I will tick that down 1, which I already did, advance the round counter, and get ready for the next round, which I will do sometime tomorrow. All right, I am back. One other order of business to finish up for round 6 is I did need to do a short rest for the Soothsinger, so I did that, and the card I randomly lost was Wearying Chant. Round 7, and I've got everyone going pretty quickly. Certainly plan on taking out the non-elite cave bear this round, and then also starting to move in, deal with the other 3, get a stun out, do some more poison. The season of gift giving continues. So here we go, going on 9, 19, and 21 for the enemies. Cave Bear's going pretty quick, so see if I actually can take them out. Only attacking for 2, though. Not that impressive. Sap Strength, yet again, for the Living Spirits. Or Living Spirit, I should say, as there's only 1 left, and nothing special for the Spitting Drake. Per usual, Rita is up first, and so the Steel Construct is up first. Construct will move in to attack the Cave Bear, and base 3 plus the poison, so it is a 4 attack. And I'm going to keep my songs going this round, which is very nice because I am putting another song into play, and that's 4 damage to the Cave Bear, bringing it down to 2. Now Rita's up, and the first thing I'll do is spend the 3 notes she's got to put a dissonant rhythm into play. So I'll be able to fire off an attack, hopefully finish off the cave bear at the end of her turn. Now I've got move 4. I would love to run up and get that loot, but unfortunately, because of her battle goal, cannot move through anybody. So I'm just going to use 2 movement to head up here, get myself closer to the door, and ready to move into the room. Now at the end of her turn, she'll fire off her abilities. Again, I'm not really sure what order you do them in. I'm going to have to double check that. I don't think it really matters. I'm just going to do the attack first to get that out of the way. And it's going to be a 2 attack, +1 from the poison, and a -1, but 2 damage is good enough to take out the bear. All right, now she does get to give 2 points of movement. At this point, I'm not going to be able to avoid attacks, or even if I could, it's time to go in the room. I can take some damage. I can take a few hits, so I'm going to give the Sawbones 2 movement, and that will be the end of Rita's turn. Speaking of the Sawbones, Helo is now up, and I want to get him into the fray. He's got a move 4 and attack 4, so I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and I think at this point, I might as well just try and take out the Living Spirit. This will be a 5 attack with the poison, and +1, this is a 6, and that is very much enough to kill the Living Spirit. Helo gains an XP and a loot for that, and now we can move on to the Plague Herald. The Brain wants to get in on the action, so he will just use a generic 2 movement to get up here, where he will be able to do looting, and then he's going to do Delirium Dance to do a 2 attack against the poisoned elite Spitting Drake. And he will go ahead and grant the gift of poison back to Rita. 'Tis the season of giving. That'll keep that streak going, and it'll add stun to the attack. All right, so it's going to be a 3 attack with the poison, but before I do that, I just realized that when I just had the Sawbones attack, I actually drew from the wrong deck. So I guess I'm used to the frontline Bruiser being over here. So let me just see. His attack should have been from here, and it would have been, all right, same thing, same result. And then, of course, don't need to draw. I already drew the +1. That is going to be the attack modifier for the Plague Herald, which means 4 damage to the Elite Drake, and it's stunned. That'll do it for my guys, and now just the Spitting Drake. Obviously, the elite one is stunned, doing nothing. The other one is going to do a 3 attack with Muddle against the Sawbones, doesn't need to move. And that attack is going to be, hey, a curse. So no damage. When it's going well, it's going well. Things have gotten a little wacky for me in round 8 here, as I'm spending a lot more time, probably way too much time, just trying to figure out how to maximize collecting loot, gaining XP, battle goals, everything except actually killing the enemies, which I don't want to do yet. Well, I'll kill one of them, maybe. We'll just kind of go through it. I chose cards to give a lot of options. As I said, foremost on my mind, I do want to get that mastery goal. I don't think that's going to be very hard, actually, because I have so many ways of giving poison, taking poison back. Let's see when these drakes are going, and then I'll work through the turn. All right, Brain going a little slow on 47. Rita pretty fast, and Helo moderately fast. Fast enough, as the Spitting Drakes are not going until 89. Oh, they are going to be stunning. I actually don't mind that, because as of right now, I was actually planning on having the Sawbones take that long rest next round. What else is new? Rita is up first, which means Steel Construct, although this time it cannot get in range to attack. It's just going to move 2 into the doorway. And now Rita can go, and I was going to send her into the room, ultimately towards the loot down in the lower right corner or the chest, but I can't because of her battle goal. So instead, I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 going around. So she'll be able to pick up some loot out of it. Better than nothing, I guess. Now she'll play Marching Beat. First time, I think, that I've used the top part of this card. So she is going to be able to strengthen 2 allies within range 3. That'll be the Steel Construct and the Plague Herald. She'll gain a Trouble Note for that. Also, I forgot to give Muddle to the Sawbones. Even though he took no damage, he did get the Muddle from last turn, so he's muddled. Wasn't planning on attacking with him anyway. Now, the end of Rita's turn, she can kick off her abilities. So first, we'll do the 2 attack versus the Elite. +1 from the poison, so a 3 attack is going to be a miss. I can push it too, so sure, why not? I'll actually just push it 1 here, so it's on top of the trap, no damage because it's flying, but that's gonna clear things up a little bit, because now I can go ahead and grant my 2 movement, which I will grant to this guy, moving him over here. He is not moving onto poison, that's just a reminder. He is over here, not next to the Elite, but close enough to get there next turn. Next up is Helo, and here is an oft not used rule, as was pointed out to me when I was worried a couple games back with the Mind Thief about not wanting to draw her Immobilize card. I was reminded that you do not have to apply effects unless there is an exclamation point. And so that is something I'm going to do here. First and foremost, I am going to do Battlefield Medicine to stun disarm the Elite next to me, so I don't have to worry about it attacking or moving, since we're already in melee. Although there's a good chance it may be dead anyway before it comes to that. But either way, I can do that, and then I am not going to safeguard myself. Reason being, gotta receive that gift of poison, gotta open up my present, and hey, look, pox. But, the things we do to help out our buddy, because maybe there's a small part of him that still looks like Yakko, I don't know. But in any event, I am just going to do the bottom part, which is loot 1, which is going to be quite the spoils. It's going to be 4 loot that I grab. Next up is the Brain. He is going to do a move 2 into the room, and I could give poison. Don't need to. I'm strengthened, already have advantage. So I will instead do a 4 attack against the Elite, and this will be advantage again from the strengthened and +1 from the poison, so a base of 5. And in retrospect, I probably should have just ignored the disarm and did a melee attack against this guy to soften him up, but I think it's okay. In this case, if I don't kill him, that's fine. More important is, if I did draw a miss, which I guess I can't even do. So yeah, I probably should have just hit him. But let's go ahead and attack. It's either going to be a 0 or a miss. So yeah, that's 5 damage. It'll bring it down to 1. And the added effect of Rot Maggots is that each ally adjacent to the target is poisoned. So again, keeping the streak going, 8 rounds in a row of gifting or removing poison, this time to the Sawbones. Now the Drakes are up with their Subduing Spit. The Elite is disarmed, not going to attack, so the other one will do a big 1 attack against the Sawbones, times 2, so 2 damage. But he's poisoned, so it's actually a base 2, so it's actually 4 damage. Probably could have done all that better, but we'll get through it. End of the round, I'm going to go ahead and tick these both down, and Rita will gain 1 more XP. Round 9, and like I said, I'm going to have Helo long rest so that he can hopefully get his battle goal. I am going to get Rita moving into the room and getting 1 more song out, mainly just for XP. And also, won't hurt to muddle the enemy, hopefully make its attack not too bad, as long as it doesn't miss. And then the Plague Herald will be able to continue to dole out poison. For the enemies, they're not attacking. So I guess I'm not going to be able to get the battle goal done just yet. Going very fast, healing themselves. Actually, I don't mind that they're removing the poison because then I can reapply it. That's just slightly aggravating, though. So the Elite removes its poison, heals back up to 3. The non-Elite was not damaged. Both of them are strengthened and have 2 shields. Next up, Rita. So Steel Construct, going to move up here and do its attack. Construct still strengthened from last round, so this attack will be at advantage, and it is going to be either a +1 or I actually want my music to advance so that I can be gaining more XP probably. Although I'll eventually get the other one. I'll have to think about that. Do I want to keep that? Yeah, I think I'd rather just do the damage. So it's 4 damage against 2 shields. Gonna knock it back down to 1. Then for Rita's movement, I'll have her go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep her close to her allies, close to the action. Actually, that's a little bit too close to that guy, so actually I'm going to move her down here. Still do want to make sure that I can have the Sawbones take an attack while long resting. Yeah, I should be able to pull that off. Then she's going to go ahead and use the treble note she's got to put another song into play. That is going to be Bewildering Instrumental. Now we are good to go with end of turn effects. We'll start with the Bewildering Instrumental, I guess, which will do 1 damage and muddle this guy. So he'll be muddled for next turn. And then we'll do a 2 damage attack against the Elite. Actually, one quick thing I'm going to backtrack before I do her end of turn effects is I am going to switch this up. I actually don't want this guy to die yet. And she has to do a 2 attack against it. This card I don't believe is optional. So I am going to take the effect, the 0 instead of the +1. Again, it's my advantage, so I can choose which. And that means none of these counters will move this turn. So now I can do the end of the turn, which is going to be 1 damage. We'll do this first to the enemy with the highest health. He'll also be muddled for next round. And then I'm going to go ahead and do that 2 attack against the Elite. And it does have 2 shields, so a +1 is 3 against the 2 shields. Worked out perfectly. It's down to 1. And I will also push it 1 just to get it off the trap so that when it does die, easier to collect that loot. Although there's a high likelihood that the Plague Herald is going to run onto one of these traps anyway in service to the blood god. Last thing is I can go ahead and have an ally move too. I'm actually going to move this guy back so that I have a little bit more control over who this Drake attacks. I do want to make sure that he attacks the Sawbones, who is going to try long resting again next turn, see if I can get that battle goal. Next up, the Brain is going to spread the plague. He will drop a token here, as well as poison, so that fulfills that. But on top of that, I can then also remove the poison from the Sawbones. Then I'll go ahead and see if I can take out the Elite. It'll be a 2 attack at range 4, so within range of either again, but I want to focus on getting an enemy out, and so that will be a base 3 attack with the poison. That's already applied. And that attack is going to be +1, which is good enough, even with his shields, to take him out. Finishing out the round, the Plague Herald will short rest, losing Spread the Plague, which is fine. I've still got my cards that let me give poison to allies, so that's the most important to keep it going. And then the other card for the long rest, gain 2 back up to 7, and get rid of First Aid. And that is going to do it for the round. And I realized I am not going to be able to long rest next round. I'm going to have to drag this out a little bit longer because I can't long rest if you don't have any cards in the discard pile. At least I don't think you can. So we're into round 10, and my goal now is just to finish things out over the next 3 turns. Hopefully get my battle goals achieved, get the masteries, everything going. Also pick up all the loot. There's a chest up in the corner that I will probably send the Sawbones after, and Rita going to be going for that loot in the bottom, and I just need to be careful to make sure I don't kill the enemy too soon. 8, 21, and 27, and the Drakes going after all that at 57, just doing a 2 attack, so nothing too bad, and we will get things going. It's actually going to be Helo, the Sawbones, going up first, and he's just going to go ahead and move up 1 so he can grab that loot, and then he will disarm the Drake. Now the Plague Herald's up, and he's got a lot he's trying to juggle, trying to fulfill a mastery, a battle goal, a personal goal. Got to end at 3 health. We'll get there, but for now, I'm just going to have him move 2 over here, avoiding the trap for now, but maybe not for long. He's then going to give poison to the Steel Construct so that he can attack with advantage. And then that attack, of course, is going to be against the Spitting Drake. And this will be just a 1 attack, which is good. I don't want to do too much damage, either a +1 or a ×2. So either way, 2 damage. Okay, last thing is, even though these are the only 2 cards in my discard pile, I am going to take a short rest, just because I need to get my hand size down to 3 or fewer so that I can get my battle goal. Randomly ended up drawing the Biting Gnats, which is fine. That's the one I would probably get rid of. I'd love to be able to play it for the XP and the poison, but in order to get my mastery, I do need to make sure I can both give and remove poison, so that'll let me hold on to the other card, and that is going to do it for his turn. Next up is Rita, and of course first this guy will just advance forward 2. Then I am going to use Call to Action to have her walk this guy into the trap, giving him a gift, and he does love it, as he will give of himself to the Blood God, except he's actually not going to take the damage. Instead, I'm going to have him lose a card to prevent the damage, just so that I can get him down on cards. There's a lot going on with this character. But that's gone. And then with her 5 movement, she can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, getting some loot and putting her in position to go ahead and loot those other 2 next round. At the end of her turn, she will grant a couple of movement, continuing to move this guy a little bit closer. And then she will do... well, she's going to have to do 1 damage to this guy and muddle him. Things actually getting a little bit dicey, as I could potentially kill this guy off, and I definitely don't want to do that. It's going to cost me an XP, but I don't think I can afford to take the chance, because it's a 2 attack, If I draw a +1, that'll kill the enemy. That'll be the end of the scenario. So what I'm going to do instead is just let this card go so that I do not have to trigger it. The one other thing I'm going to do for Rita's turn is I'm going to let this card go to the discard pile now, and then I'm going to go ahead and take short rest. And she will end up losing. Onward to battle. Nothing going on for the Spitting Drake as it is disarmed, so it's just going to hang out where it is. And just to finish up the round, we'll take this down 1, giving Rita 1 XP. Round 11, and we're almost there. Going to do some looting. The Plague Herald, now that it's after Christmas, is going to do some gift exchange and maybe take back some poison. And once again, we will try to have the Sawbones get whacked while long resting. Here we go. We got Rita going very fast, the Brain going slower, because I would like for him to go after the Spitting Drake. And he is. It is nothing special for the Spitting Drake, so let's get on with it. And I'm actually not sure offhand if you can dismiss a summons at any time, if it has to be during your turn. If it does, I just would have done it last turn. Steel Construct has fulfilled his duty. We are going to remove him from the map so that he does not run up and kill the Drake. Because we would like one more round to make sure I can get that chest. With that done, we can now get into Rita's turn. Well, I was going to use the loot card and get another note into play so I could maybe get 1 more XP next turn, but I cannot take that risk. There is a +2 in my deck, and if I draw it, that would be sad. So I'm instead just going to use a generic move 2 to go up here so I can grab the loot, and I'll be able to get the other one next turn. And then, actually, we'll allow this. Maybe the Plague Herald will make his way over there. Not sure yet. We'll be able to put a song into play. It is going to be, once again, the mobilizing measure. So we'll be able to get some movement out of that. Do not want to do any more damage. Actually, yeah, it's at 3. There's no harm in doing 1 more damage. So I will leave that card in play. So at the end of her turn, this guy will take 1 more damage. Also being muddled, which is actually good. That means he's not going to move on his attack. So now I can do the mobilizing measure, but before I do that, just one thing I forgot to do during the Brain's last turn. I did mean to use his Amulet of Life to get him up back to 5 health so that he could survive it when I move him to, giving him yet another gift, which he oh so enjoys, of walking into that trap, which will do 4 damage to him, bringing him down to 1 and muddling him. Next up is the Drake, which, since it is muddled, is not going to move. It's just going to do a 3 attack against the Sawbones. Hallelujah, at disadvantage. So either 0 or a ×2. So we'll take the 0. That'll be 3 damage. Next up, the Brain is going to use that big noggin of his as he's worked things out. Does want to get a little bit more XP. He's going to stun all enemies with the Plague. So that's going to ensure that we don't have to deal with this guy attacking anymore. And then he will use the heal, targeting everybody within 5 who's poisoned. That is just going to be Rita. And now the way this works is I don't have to remove the poison, but I can. So I'm going to treat it as a normal heal, which will take away the poison, which will continue to fulfill his mastery. That's going to do it for the Plague Herald. Then we'll just finish out the round by ticking these both down 1, Rita gaining 1 more XP. Oh, and let's not forget, I actually have been long resting. I do need to actually perform that long rest. So I just have these 2 cards in my discard pile. I'm going to lose the Curative Mixture so that I can have my move 5 and go very late in the round. And heal back up to 6, get my armor back, and that is going to do it for the round. Round 12, we can finally finish everything off now that we've achieved everyone's battle goals and gone through the brain headache that is getting the Brain's mastery and his personal goal and all of that stuff. Now I'm going to have the Sawbones going last so that hopefully his path to that chest is not blocked and we've taken out the enemy, but let's see. We will have the stunned Spitting Drake will be going on 89, so it doesn't really matter. Now we can get into it. So Rita's up first. Sharing is caring, as they like to say in this group. She is going to let the Plague Herald have the loot, So she is just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 up here. Then she is able to target 2 allies within 3, so she'll give them both strengthen. 'Tis the season, after all. And at the end of her turn, she will do 1 more damage to this guy, bringing him down to 1. So he will be dead very soon, one way or the other. And then with the 2 movement, just move the Plague Herald over on to that loop. Next up, the Brain will use Accelerated End to target an enemy that has Doom and poison everyone adjacent. So 1 more gift as he poisons the Sawbones yet again. Finally, he'll see if he can't put an end to this enemy once and for all, doing a 4 attack with advantage. So either a +0 or a +0, either way, 4 damage, going to take that guy out. I'm realizing I think I left loot on the table. Did not think about that. I'm not going to be able to get that loot. Oh well. Helo will finish things off by playing Vital Strikes just for the XP, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right up into the corner where he will collect the chest. And the item he found, nice item, is the Ranger's Hood. Not so much for him, but would love to get that over to Rita, which she can use with the Steel Construct. So she's going to have to pay for it. He'll be able to sell it off. Less than ideal, but still pretty good. So that brings us to the end of the scenario. Having passed these tests that were given to us by the Seer, dropped a whole bunch of lore about the gloom that we're facing, but also that there's 2 parts that we have to put together, more work to be done. So we've opened up a couple of other quests. I then had a choice. Do I seek wealth, power, or fortune? I chose wealth because 2 of my battle goals, or 2 of my personal goals, especially for the Soothsinger, are tied to that. Did not get any wealth immediately, but I was given a scenario which I guess will be a good source of wealth. The Lost Island has been unlocked. So 3 new scenarios unlocked, lots of choices for what to do next time. Let's take a look at how the characters did. We'll start with the Brain, the Harrower Plague Herald, who had quite a bit of things going on in the name of Zorn, in the name of the Blood God. He picked up 24 XP, falling just short. I'll have to go back and check, make sure I added everything up right, but I do have him at 24 XP, so he's at 94 XP, almost level 3, not quite yet. Who knows? Maybe I'll have a city event that gives XP. He also picked up 9 gold, bringing him up to 23. And he did get 2 perks. Completed his battle goal for a check mark and both of his masteries. So, a lot going on. Quite the debut for the Plague Herald. Very appropriately right around the season of giving. He gave a lot. For Helo, he also picked up 24 XP, bringing him up to 135. He picked up the most gold, 7 tokens for 21 gold, so he's up to 26 there. And he'll be leveling up to level 3. Did complete his battle goal, but still a ways to go for another perk there. And also, for his personal goal, he did bring 2 faction items in, so he's earned himself a couple more votes, up to 7 now. Finally, Rita, who very importantly completed her battle goal, which earned everybody that 8 extra XP that I'm factoring in. She earned a total of 22, so she's up to 121 and will level up to level 3 as well. And gold-wise, she picked up 4 tokens for 12 gold, so she's at 16. Completed her battle goal as well, so all looking pretty good. And that is going to do it for this episode of Solo Strategic Playthroughs, the first full adventure of the new Gloomaniacs. Going pretty well. There's a lot of good stuff going on here. A little bit brain bending. At least I won't be having to do multiple masteries next time. That's all taken care of. Speaking of next time, I invite you to join me. Subscribe if you haven't. Please give me a like. Please give me your comments. I love to read them. I love to engage. Otherwise, as always, until next time, and thanks for watching.